The engineer ruined my claim. Only one report actually did. NAPAICC Insider Research Desk, Tampa Bay, Florida. 3 homeowners each received an engineering report that worked against their claim, but a claim-by-claim review finds only one of those reports was actually flawed. The findings illustrate why an adverse engineering finding by itself tells you almost nothing, and why the same complaint, "the engineer ruined my claim," can describe 3 unrelated situations. Key takeaways. 1. An adverse engineering finding is not by itself evidence of bias. Some findings are simply an accurate description of a cause the homeowner didn't expect. 2. The most common flawed report isn't corrupt. It's incomplete, built on a site visit that missed key areas or measurements. 3. A true biased report traces back to specific, identifiable gaps, contradicting evidence that was available but never addressed. 4. In all 3 cases reviewed, the correct response depended entirely on which of these 3 conditions was actually present. Claim 1. The deterioration finding, an accurate report. Loss type, foundation cracking, reported as storm-related. Engineer's finding, long-term soil movement, not storm-related. Outcome, finding upheld. A homeowner reported foundation cracking following a period of heavy regional rain and requested coverage under her policy's windstorm provisions. The carrier's engineer inspected the foundation and concluded the cracking pattern was consistent with long-term soil movement and pre-existing settlement, not a single storm event. I was sure the timing proved it was the storm. The engineer said timing wasn't the same as causation. A homeowner in a comparable claim. A review of the report found a methodical basis for the conclusion. Crack width measurements taken at multiple points. Comparison to a documented gradual widening pattern. And soil composition data for the site consistent with long-term expansive clay behavior rather than sudden storm-driven movement. The report did not dismiss the storm. It addressed it directly and explained why the evidence pointed elsewhere. Diagnosis. An accurate finding. The evidence supported gradual deterioration over an acute storm-caused event. There was no flawed methodology to challenge and no bias to appeal. The lesson: a report that contradicts a homeowner's assumption is not automatically a report that is wrong. Claim 2. The incomplete site visit, a correctable report. Loss type: roof and attic damage following a hailstorm. Engineer's finding: damage inconsistent with hail impact. Outcome: finding revised after supplemental inspection. A second homeowner's roof was inspected by an engineer, who concluded the damage pattern was inconsistent with hail impact and instead reflected manufacturing defects in the shingles. The homeowner disputed this, noting hail had been confirmed in the area on the date of loss. A review of the engineer's field notes found the inspection had been conducted from the ground and from photographs, without the engineer physically accessing the roof surface. Attic decking, which often shows corresponding impact evidence from hail penetration, had not been inspected at all. Diagnosis: an incomplete report, a conclusion reached without a full physical inspection of the relevant surfaces. A supplemental inspection, including physical roof access and an attic decking review, identified impact marks consistent with hail and inconsistent with a manufacturing defect pattern. The original finding was revised. The lesson: a report built on a partial inspection deserves a request for a complete one before it deserves an argument. Claim 3. The unaddressed contradiction, a flawed report. Loss type: water intrusion following wind-driven rain. Engineer's finding: pre-existing condition, not storm-related. Outcome: report challenged and withdrawn. A third homeowner's water intrusion claim was met with an engineering report concluding the moisture was a pre-existing condition unrelated to a recent named storm. The homeowner had photographs taken the week before the storm showing a dry, undamaged interior. The report never mentioned my photos. It was as if they didn't exist. Case summary: Claim Autopsy research notes. A review of the engineering report confirmed the pre-storm photographs had been provided to the engineer in advance of the inspection, but were not referenced, addressed, or explained anywhere in the written findings. The report's conclusion directly conflicted with dated evidence already in the file, without acknowledging that evidence existed. Diagnosis: a flawed report. Available, contradicting evidence was never addressed. A formal written challenge, submitted with the original photographs and a request for the engineer to specifically address them, resulted in a second reviewing engineer withdrawing the original finding. The lesson: a report that ignores evidence already in the file is a report worth challenging directly on the record. Analysis: 3 reports, 3 different causes. 3 homeowners received an engineering finding that worked against them and reached the same conclusion. The process was rigged. Only one of the 3 actually reflected a flawed process, not because the other 2 homeowners' frustration wasn't real, but because they diagnosed the conclusion before they examined the methodology. Applying the wrong response in any of the 3 would have produced a worse outcome. Disputing sound engineering evidence that was never going to change, accepting an incomplete inspection as final when a simple supplemental visit would have corrected it, or letting a report stand that had never actually engaged with the homeowner's own evidence. The trap isn't receiving an adverse engineering finding. The trap is treating every adverse finding as proof of bias. Some findings are accurate and unwelcome. Some are incomplete and correctable. And some ignore evidence that was there all along. Until that distinction is made, it is impossible to know whether the right response is acceptance, a supplemental inspection, or a formal challenge. Clinical Pearl: an engineering report is evidence. It is not a verdict. Editorial note: homeowner names, adjusters, carriers, and claim specifics in this report are composite and fictional, constructed for illustrative and educational purposes. They do not describe any actual individual, insurer, or pending matter. This report does not constitute legal or insurance advice.